Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel Talking with Timaiah. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you're a returner, thank you guys so much for your consistent love and support. Today I'm showing you guys my A+ study routine. This is a routine I use for law school, business school, and I also use a lot of this in college. So first I want to show you guys the supplies that I use. I need colorful pens when I'm studying. I also need earplugs just to eliminate any distractions. Highlighters are a major necessity, as well as flashcards. I also have a pencil box which I keep all of my other supplies in. Of course, you need your laptop. A book stand is really important because law school books are huge, and then just my notes and things like that. So let's get right into the routine. So first, I want to quickly go over what an outline is. An outline is a study tool, and it's typically a compilation of all of the things that you've done during the semester. So your reading notes, your class notes, any additional notes that you have taken when you went to office hours. It's pretty much just compiling all the things that you have to make one body of work that you can use to study from.
Take care of me. Talk all day and the night on the deep.
So for every class, you study a bit differently depending on what type of materials the professor gives you, what type of exam you're taking, and just really what kind of subject matter it is. So really try and pay attention to what might be the best way to study for that course. I'm going to show you guys a few different things that I do, which can pretty much work for several different classes that I'm studying for. The first thing that I'm showing you guys is a class that my professor actually provides the slideshows for. So everything that he talks about in that course, he gives us a slideshow before class, and we're able to just annotate on those notes whatever additional things he says in the course. Now I find this very helpful because instead of actually creating a huge master outline, I'm able to just go through my notes and then just take some additional notes that are more so like a written outline. So just writing out some things that I find to be important or some really key facts that might help me on my exam.
I belong to you.
When taking my notes or creating my written outline, I love to use colorful ink, and the reason for that is because when I use traditional blue or black ink, I typically disengage from the material. However, when I use different colors, it really helps me to focus on what I'm doing, and in addition to that, when I'm reviewing the material, I'm able to know that pink might mean one thing, while red might mean that this is something important to remember, while orange might mean that this is something I have questions on. However you choose to go through and do your notes, it's just really helpful to have a system put in place to know what colors mean what. So first I go through my book because for this course my professor actually wanted us to be familiar with every single case name that we read. So he also highly recommended that we just go through the case and pick up any important details that were test worthy. So what I did for this class is not only did I create my written outline, but I also created a case outline. So my case outline is something that I actually did online. What I did is I wrote down the case for each name, what subject matter the case fell under, and then in addition to that, the important facts that came from the case. So not only did I do like a case brief, I also just wrote down some important testable material that my professor might cover on the exam. Here you can get a good look at what exactly my case outline looks like. So what I did is I pulled out all of the readings that we did for the semester, and then I just put in the case name, and as I read through the cases, I just wrote down the important information that I felt like might be on my exam. I found this to be very helpful because I was able to see all the cases in according to what subject we covered them in, so whenever I would think of a certain topic we covered, the cases that we read would come to mind. So while I'm studying, not only do I study the written outline in some of my handout notes that the professor gave us, I also will just go through and study the case outline. So the next thing I'm going to show you guys is an actual online outline. This is typically what students are referring to at the law school level when they talk about outlining. So this is once again a body of work from all of the important things that you covered in your course. It's usually put into a format that is best for you to understand. Some people like to just go through their textbook or go through their course syllabus and set their outline out that way, where pretty much every topic that you covered, you have it in that specific order, and then you just go through and fill in the important information. Other people like to do it in a way that makes most sense to them. That's what works best for me. So if there is a subject that pretty much has a flow, whether or not my professor went in that order, I will use the flow that works best for my knowledge or works best for me to really try to grasp the material. I try not to confuse myself and just do what other students are doing, because that's not usually what works for me. What I like to do is figure out what things work for me, what things will help me make the material make more sense to me. So that's something that you can do when you are outlining. You can figure out, does it make more sense for you to cover the material in your outline the same way that your professor covered it, or does it make more sense for you to just figure out how you best understand the material? So the way that you do well on exams, especially in law school or business school, is to constantly interact with the material. So it's important to do multiple things to make sure that you have a good handle on what's being tested. So not only do I like to do my written outline, go through my notes, and also do my case outline, but for courses that I'm in, I also love to make flashcards. Now, flashcards are just fun and easy because you're able to write out the rules or write out important things, and not only does writing out help you memorize it, but they're super convenient to the point where if you're just walking around or you're just taking a quick break at home, you can just flash through your cards and do some studying that way. It's a really great, convenient way to study for exams, so I highly recommend, if you have time, to create flashcards. Another great alternative to actually writing out your flashcards is to use something like a flashcard machine online, where you can once again do the same type of method of creating flashcards with the material that you have, but instead of actually having them on paper, you can just flash through that material on your computer. A lot of these different softwares can also have you use them on your cell phone, so that's just also another great way for you to practice. While you're going through and creating your outlines or making your flashcards or reviewing your notes, be sure to have a separate sheet next to you so that you can write down any questions that might come up. A lot of times while you're going through your materials for the first time in a long time, you can kind of forget things that you've covered in class or really not have such a great grasp on the material, but by writing it down, you can remember what things you had an issue with, and then you can send an email to your professor, or you can go to your professor's office hours, or if your professor is having a review session prior to your exam, you can bring those questions up during the review. I find this to be very helpful because a lot of times it's so much material and you might just not remember everything, so it's just important to keep a mental note of what you might not have such a good understanding of. So this is pretty much what I do to prepare for exams. This is what I do to set up my studying. This is how I study for exams. But the best way for you to see the results that you're seeking on exams is to take practice exams. So practice exams are what make all the difference. That's what separates the B students from the A students. Practice exams are a great way for you to interact with the material, for you to figure out what's the best way to approach it, and for you to just get more comfortable with how you might be tested. There are some professors who don't offer practice materials, but understand that there are so many different alternatives out there. There are so many websites online. There are also other professors at your school who might teach that same subject and who might have practice exams on file. There are E&Es that might have practice questions for you to go through. Find a way to interact with the material in a way that you might be tested on it, and that is how you're really going to see the results that you want on your exams. So exams can be a stressful time for everyone, but I feel as though if you go into exams with the right amount of organization and preparation, you will get the grades that you deserve. Do not allow any amount of stress or anxiety keep you from getting the grade that you know that you rightfully can earn. So I hope that these tips have helped you guys. If you have any additional tips that you use when studying for exams, be sure to comment that down below so that you can help someone else who might be preparing for exams. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys give this a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one.